Okay, now this is a nasty word for a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Credit.
Credit. Mm.
Now, just like my finances, let
Credit.
me just preface this. Like my finances getting
Mhm.
serious, I had to also get serious about credit. Credit is important to have, even if you don't use it. It's important, an important piece. And correct me if I'm wrong, of
Mhm.
your financial picture.
It is. So credit is all about the credit worthiness of the person. So are you credit worthy enough for me to lend you this money so that you can get this? Um, Credit is important. It's probably the most important thing you own. It's not your house. It's not your car. It's not your laptop. It's not your phone. It's your credit. Your credit score is the most important thing you own because your credit is who you are as an individual. It's your integrity. It's
Yes.
your livelihood. It's how you get things. So good credit is having a mortgage. Good credit is having a car loan. Bad credit is having a credit card that's maxed out every single month that you cannot pay.
Life keeps changing, and I keep aging. Turn my stress into blessings. I'm here to share my lessons. Tracy Marchelle.
Hey, girl, hey. You're listening to Girl, I'm Making It Through. I'm your host, Tracy Marchelle, and today we're talking about money. Not in the boring spreadsheet way. I'm talking about feeling in control of your financial future no matter where you're starting from. Listen, whether you're managing money solo for the first time, looking at retirement like, ugh, am I supposed to be ready for that? Getting your credit together, or just wondering where your 401k ran off to. Today's episode is for you. Today's episode is called Secure the Bag and Your Peace, Financial Independence After 50. Now, I know some of y'all just sighed, looked at your bank account and said, what future? But hang in there with me. Whether you've lost a partner like me, gone through a big life change, or just starting fresh financially, you're not alone. And the best part, it's not too late. I've invited a boss ass lady who knows her stuff and knows how to speak our language. None of that Wall Street mumbo jumbo. We're talking real life advice for real life women. Please welcome to the show, Catherine Gilstein. Excuse me, Dr. Catherine Gilstein. Before we get into all of her many accolades, let me start by saying she's my dear friend. When my husband passed away and all family was gone, and I'm going to try not to get emotional, her and her husband, Keith, took care of me and became my family. Y'all have heard me say before that God will give you what you need. I needed them, and they made sure I was good. Thank you so much for that. Now, Catherine, as I mentioned, is a doctor. She has a BS in finance, an MBA in business administration, and a PhD in business. She's a graduate program director, an assistant professor. She has helped hundreds of women just like us take charge of their money without feeling overwhelmed or judged. She also teaches financial literacy. She's an author who wrote the book, You're 18, Now What? And a podcast with the same name. Welcome to Girl, I'm Making It Through. And thank you for being here and
Thank
talking
you
to
so
us.
much. I appreciate you.
Yeah,
And
so-
you know, friends for life, we are.
Yes.
But thank you so much for having me. And you couldn't have said it better. Starting whenever, just start. Like
Yes.
that is the main thing. Just start.
So I can't wait to dive in. But I
course.
wanted to, of course, mention your book, as I did. You're 18, Now What? Tell me, what made you write this book?
So the book is the subtitle of the book is A New Adult's Guide to Credit, Insurance, Investing, Job Searches, and Other Real World Shit. So the premise of the book came from my own children and my students all having the same question. I want to make money. I just want to finish school and make money. And I thought, well, you don't know the difference between a credit card and a debit card, so maybe we should start there. So the book is not the be all end all, but there are a lot of investing books out there, and there wasn't a book that speaks to credit, how to get credit, what does credit mean, differences between leasing and renting a car, difference between traditional IRA and Roth IRA. So it gives you some information, and then it gives you not enough information so that you will want to go out and explore on your own and learn more about it.
Okay.
I started the podcast in January of 24, knowing that my book, You're 18 Now What, was coming out in August of 24. The premise was to get the 18 to 28-year-old listening, those going into college, those finishing college, those students that were starting their first jobs, moving out on their own. And what I found is that I'm not only getting those listeners, but I'm getting the parents of those listeners.
Okay, let me just say, because I've read the
Huge.
book
Mhm.
and I don't think it's just for the 18-year-old. I mean, I got something out of it and I'm years old. So
Exactly. I agree. I totally agree. But the title, You're 18 Now What? I just thought it was catchy. I thought it was flashy. I thought it could really shed light on the financial literacy problems that we do have in this country. There are only about 22 or 23 states that offer a financial literacy course at the high school level.
Mhm.
So it's lacking everywhere. And like I said, I'm getting the parents of those listeners. So the book really targets that underprivileged community. I grew up in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, single mom.
Mhm.
And I think about the kids that I grew up with in the inner city, in New York and Philly and Chicago, Miami, DC, Detroit. They're not getting any financial literacy information. So unless you're born into
Yes.
or a trust fund baby and it's
Mhm.
going to be handed to you at some point, you really don't know about it. And as important as money is, nobody wants to talk about it,
Right.
which is the crazy thing.
So most of my friends, I'm gonna tell you, they already have their well-established retirement plans, and I'll be honest. For like, it took me the last 15 years is probably when I really got serious about money, about credit, about and just what you said. Like growing up, it wasn't something that I was taught. And I believe even like my mom may have never been taught about money and how important credit is. So I had to learn the hard way. But when I got serious about it, it was like, oh, okay. I do have to live after retirement. Like,
Mhm.
okay, it's time to start getting serious and figure this thing out. So let's just dive right in. Um, Retirement planning.
Okay.
Hard, not
Easy.
hard. Okay.
Easy.
Okay.
Easy. You get your first job. Your company is offering a 401k. If they're going to offer 3% match, you put in 3%, get the 3% match. Free money, done.
Okay. Why do you think it freaks so many people out, especially those after 50? And I think it's what you said, not having the wherewithal about money and learning about financial security. Like, why do you think it freaks people
I think
out?
at that point in time, you really come to realize, damn, I'm 50 and retirement's not that far away. Whereas when you're 25, it's really hard to save. So what I find is that it's very easy to save in the short term, right? So you're going to go on a girls' weekend. Tracy, we're going to go on a girls' weekend. In October, you're like, girl, I'm in. I'll put a couple of $100 away. I'm good to go, right? Easy to save for. But when you start talking about saving for 20 years from now, 25 years from now, it's just unfathomable for so many people. Or you have a situation where you got married young, you had a family young. So now you're so busy taking care of your family and your kids that you don't have time to put away for yourself. And that's about when it really hits at 40, 45, and you start thinking, oh shit, I don't have anything left for me.
Right.
Who's going to take care of me?
Mhm.
So whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship, I think it's really important to establish your own credit. And I know you and I have spoken about
Yes.
that
And we'll
before.
dive into that.
Mhm.
We'll dive into that. After 50, okay, this woman either lost like I've had or divorced or finding herself on her own. Like, what are some of the first things that a woman in that situation should do as far as money is concerned?
Hopefully you don't have to wait until you're 50. Hopefully you don't have to wait until, God forbid, your spouse passes or you get divorced or something like that. I think it's really important that women in general, no matter how young, how old, that you know what the electric bill costs in your house. That you know, even if somebody else is taking care of the finances, that you're aware of what's going on.
Now, you bring up a good point with that, because a lot of women that are married and their spouse takes care of everything.
Yes.
And then they may find themselves in a situation where loss, divorce, and don't have a clue, like where. So I'm thinking that advising them now, I guess,
Yes.
you got to know what's going on in your household.
Beforehand. You have to know. Like I said, it's a money conversation.
Yes.
And as important as money is, people don't want to talk about money. So I know people who are engaged, who are not married yet, who have bought a home together. You bought a home together, but you're not sure if you want to marry this person. Red flag.
Okay.
Don't do it.
Okay.
So unless you're sure you want to be with that person, yeah. Don't put your name on something. Don't co-sign a loan. Don't do anything like that. Have the money conversation. Okay, great. I'm so happy that you're more financially savvy than I am, and that's okay. And I'm okay with you handling the finances, but I would really like to know, where is our money going every month? What are we putting away for? We're paying all the bills. We're doing everything. We have some money for vacation. Are we putting any stuff away for us while we wait for little Jim to go to school?
Right.
You have to have the money conversation.
You have to have the conversation. Now, one thing for me, as I mentioned, probably the last 15 years, I've been smart about money. Saving was hard because it meant for me sacrifice.
Absolutely.
Whereas I got my check, baby, I took care of the bills. I wanted to go buy me a new dress and some shoes, and that's what I did. So when I got serious about my money, it was like, you got to really think about, is that dress and shoes more important than having some cushion in case the refrigerator breaks? So for someone that doesn't already have savings or some type of cushion, what's the recommendation on how do they get started to start saving?
Recommendations, start with anything. I don't care if it's $10 a week. If you put away $10 or $15 a week, you want to put it away in a high yield savings account. There are savings accounts out there that are offering 3.65%, 3.75%, even 4% annual percentage yield on your money. The only thing that you have is time and compounding interest. Okay. So, of course, the earlier you start, the better you are. So if a 20-year-old can put away $100 a month for retirement, that's great. But if you wait until you're 45, your monthly put away is going to be more like $550 a month. And are you going to have those funds at that point in time? Okay. Most likely not, because you have other responsibilities. So,
but even $5, $10, $20 a paycheck or anything.
Anything is helpful because it's going to add up over time. And for me, it became a game. So I would put away something as stupid as, my family would laugh at me, and I would put $10 a week away in this account, and $10 a week and $10 a week. And once I got it to $100, I was like, I got $100. I got to get it to $250. Once I got it to $250, I was like, I got to get it to $500. I got to get it to $1,000. So it became a game for me to see what I could put away, what I can get in there. You talk about sacrifice earlier, and I'm not saying don't have what you want to have, but I always try to explain to my students, my kids, wants and needs.
Yes.
Right? So there's the 50-30-20 rule. And I talk about that in my book as well. 50% on needs, 30% on wants, 20% on future you. So that
Elaborate on the future you.
The future you is your retirement.
Yes. Okay.
So whatever you want that retirement to be. And some people just want a retirement just so they can have a house, just so they can go on vacation, just so they can cruise, just so they could visit their grandchildren. Whatever that future you is, if you're paying yourself 20%, you're putting that money away for your future self.
Okay.
And you could put that 20% away in different ways. Maybe 10% in a high yield savings account, maybe 10% in your 401k at work, maybe in an IRA, a Roth IRA, either of those.
Different avenues.
Yeah, definitely different avenues. Always have different avenues.
And another thing when I got serious about money, and I'm going to say I wanted to do this topic because more times than not, women especially,
Correct.
we leave it up to someone else to take care of the money, or we're not savvy enough, or I won't say we're not savvy enough. We don't take the time to get the knowledge to make sure that we're secure. And I don't know where that part comes from, but I know for me, it was like, oh, when I retire, I'll just retire. But you can't depend on that. So what I did
It's not going to happen by chance.
Right,
It needs to happen
exactly.
by choice.
By choice, exactly.
So that's the difference there. It needs to happen by choice, not by chance. And I'm not saying, every once in a while you want to get that Starbucks white mocha and you want to spend $6, spend the $6.
Yeah.
Don't cheat yourself, but know where your money's going.
So that leads me to my first step when I decided to get serious about money. I used an app, first and foremost, to see where my money was going. Because money was going out. I'm spending money. I know I'm paying my mortgage. I did at least have a house at the time. Paying my mortgage. I'm paying my utilities. I got subscriptions to stuff I don't even realize I got subscriptions to. I'm spending money eating out. That was a big thing for me. How much I was spending on groceries. I wasn't really budgeting for anything. And your rule you spoke about, the 50, 30, 20. Do we use that as like a guideline for just budgeting in general?
That is absolutely budgeting in general. So you're spending 50% on your needs. So your housing, your electric, your gas, your car, your food, and then 30% on wants. Well, what are your wants? And do you need them every single month? And I had this conversation with my my youngest daughter just the other day. And she's like, oh, I think I'm just going to spend the day by the pool. I'm like, that's great because you've been out like every day in the last 2 weeks. I go, you want to go out? I get that. Go out with your girlfriends, have fun, do something. But you can go out once a week. You don't need to go out 4 times a week.
Right.
So it's not about depriving yourself. It's just about setting boundaries within yourself.
And priorities. Yeah. And one question I did get from some feedback from some other women in retirement. Okay, we're just going to fast forward. We'll go back when we talk about credit. But in retirement, is it still okay to invest in things like stocks or?
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you could speak with a financial advisor and you could see what you want to spend your money in. Typically, when you're younger, you want to put more like 70% into stocks and 30% into bonds and other avenues. But as you get older, you want to just slow down on the stocks and not be as risky.
Not as risky, okay.
Just not as risky. So can you still invest in stocks? Absolutely, but maybe you're only investing 30 or 40% in stocks and then more into bonds because bonds are more secure.
Okay, now this is a nasty word for a lot of people.
Go ahead.
Credit.
Now,
just like my finances, let me just preface this. Like my finances getting serious, I had to also get serious about credit. Credit is important to have. Even if you don't use it, it's an important piece, and correct me if I'm wrong, of your financial picture.
It is. So credit is all about the credit worthiness of the person. So are you credit worthy enough for me to lend you this money so that you can get this? Credit is important. It's probably the most important thing you own. It's not your house. It's not your car. It's not your laptop. It's not your phone. It's your credit. Your credit score is the most important thing you own because your credit is who you are as an individual. It's your integrity. It's your livelihood. It's how you get things. So good credit is having a mortgage. Good credit is having a car loan. Bad credit is having a credit card that's maxed out every single month that you cannot pay.
Now, speaking of, this is where I had the credit. I did have credit cards, but it was exactly that, maxed out. So I used to listen to this show called Road to 750 with Shonda Martin is the young lady's name. The biggest lesson I learned from her is due date versus statement date.
Correct.
And in knowing that, it made the biggest difference in my credit. Like within 3 months, I literally just turned it around because what I was doing was I pay the card.
Mm-hmm.
Next day, that amount is available. I go shop my butt off. Statement comes out,
Oh my gosh.
and that's what's reported to the credit bureaus. I did not understand that,
Mm-hmm.
and following her helped me to understand that once that statement, or once I make my payment, chill out for a couple days, let that statement hit showing 0
Mm-hmm.
to be able to have a lower utilization.
Correct.
And then go crazy, but just
If you
go
need to-
crazy within reason,
if you
within
need-
reason
if you
or
need
whatever.
to.
If you need to spend, but just making sure that little difference made like hundreds of points difference in my credit score.
That is the difference. And I think another thing with credit cards is that credit cards are charged an interest rate daily.
Mm-hmm.
So if your due date is on the 21st of the month and you pay on the 21st of the month, you're paying all of the interest charges that can possibly incur.
Mm-hmm.
If your due date is the 21st of the month and you pay it when the bill comes in and you pay it on the 10th, well, now you paid it on the 10th. Now you're avoiding those interest charges from the 11th to the 21st when that statement actually cuts.
Right.
So that can cut down too.
Mm.
And another thing for credit is 30% is typically the rule. Credit card companies like to see that you're utilizing less than 30% of your credit that's out there. So you can have a card with $1,000 limit, but as long as you don't owe more than $300 on that card at any given point in time, you're staying within that 30% threshold, and they can still view you as a credit-worthy person to extend credit.
Mm-hmm.
What people don't realize is that a credit card is borrowed money.
Right.
So you're basically borrowing money to pay interest on money that you don't have to when you don't need to.
Mm.
The smart way is if you're getting a big purchase.
Yes.
Big purchase, you're buying furniture. The company is offering 18%, 18 months, 0% interest. Sign me up. Let me buy my sofa for $3,000. I finance it over 18 months at 0% interest.
Mm-hmm.
So I just need to do the calculation. $3,000 divided by 18 months. How much money a month? That's what I'm going to pay. It's going to be paid off. And then you're using their money.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense. Rather than take $3,000 out of your account to pay for a sofa.
Right.
When your $3,000 is getting 4% interest on it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a couple of different ways to look at
finesse
money
it,
and
yeah.
absolutely finesse it. Yes.
And having the proper credit mix also
Yes.
comes into play.
Mm-hmm.
Mortgage.
Right. Mortgage, good credit. Car loan,
car
good
loan.
credit.
Right.
You want to turn your credit around, get a car loan, pay it off for a year, on time every month, your credit score will skyrocket.
Okay, because that was going to be my next question.
Yep.
For somebody now, okay, we're finding ourselves in a financial bind. Our credit is looking, shabby. Or how do we establish or reestablish credit? The best way to do that.
There's a couple of different ways, and typically Capital One or Discover will give you an initial credit card with a $300 line on it. If your credit is not good at all and really poor, have faith. There are secured credit cards out there. So you can actually give the company $300 up front, and they will give you a credit card with a limit of $300. And you can start rebuilding your credit that way. So whether you're at 20, 30, or 50, it's always important to get credit in your own name.
That was going to be another
Yes.
question, especially, again, someone that has some type of loss. Husband, had all the credit, took care of all the business.
Yeah. And there is no handbook for
Yeah.
when you lose a spouse.
Yes.
So
yeah.
it does
There
make
isn't.
it does make it very difficult.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of nuances that go into it. You need to
Yeah.
find out everything. You need to just start, and you really don't have the mental capacity or the wherewithal to even be able to deal with that when you want to be grieving.
Yes.
And you just want some calm and some peace, but now you're faced with all of these challenges of, oh my gosh,
financial aspect
what are the
of it.
passwords?
Right.
Where can I find this? Where
Yes.
can I find this?
Yes. And I had that uncle had his spouse passed away, and his wife was the one that handled. It was completely opposite. His wife was the one that handled all the bills, so he didn't know passwords. He didn't know. So having to help him get that stuff established.
Right.
Same like with Charles passing, and thank God we had already had the conversations. I already had my individual identity, as far as credit set up, that when he passed, it was a lot to even deal with the financial aspect of burial, all the funeral expenses, transportation, like all of those things. But I couldn't imagine having to now add on, like,
How do I
did
find
he?
all the finance stuff?
Right,
Yeah.
right, right.
It's
So that was a big thing, that I think a lot of women, we need to now. So if you're listening to this now,
yes.
start now establishing some sort of credit for yourself, as you mentioned, knowing what the finances are, and we'll recap on some of that as well. So there's often like guilt or shame whenever there's some sort of big shift, and we're getting to the emotional side of money. I think that a lot of women, money is scary for a lot of women,
It can
and it can be if you're not educated on the basics, like we just talked about. How does one get past that? And just in my opinion, just start somewhere. But you being an expert, what do you think?
It is just start somewhere, and it's very difficult. I actually did a podcast last year. I believe it was like the end of March, beginning of April of last year, money and mindfulness. And there's a huge connection between money and how we feel about money. So when you think about where you grew up, how you grew up, who were you raised by, how your parents treated money, did you hear them arguing about bills all the time, or was it the total opposite and you never had to worry about money or anything like that? All of that plays into as we grow up. So it's, the culture we're surrounded with, where we went to school, where we went to church, who our friends were, who we hang out with. And I grew up, like I said, inner city, single mom, and I had no idea my mom was broke. And let me just clarify, and my mother said this the best, poor is a state of mind.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
You might be temporarily broke, and that's okay. You can fix that. But poor is an absolute state of mind. And that's where money and mindfulness come into play, is that if you think money is scary, it's going to be scary. If you think I can't save money, then you can't save money. What I like to say is that if you can save now, you can save for your future. If you can control your debt now, you can control your future. And if you can have income now, you can build wealth. So those are the differences between save and savings, debt and debt, income and wealth. Income is what you make on an everyday. Wealth is what you build for yourself over time. And with time and compounding interest, that's how you get there. So it's kind of like going to the gym.
Right.
I'm going to go to the gym on Tuesday, and by Thursday, I'm going to be buff. Not going to happen. Okay, it's just not going to happen.
So I worked out yesterday, and I'm thinking already I've lost 2 pounds.
Exactly. not going to happen. As much as I'd love to say it will, it's not going to happen. It's consistency.
Yes.
So the same thing. The same thing with money. What you need at 20 is not what you need at 30, 40, or 50. So your budget should be changing with your needs. So if you're 35 years old and you're just starting a family, well, your budget needs to reflect that. If you're 50 years old and your kids are starting to move out of the house, your budget needs to reflect that. So also when you're 50, it's kind of like that's where you start thinking, okay, I don't need to support my children anymore. I've given them all the tools necessary. I've helped them get their education. I've been by their side to support them. They're doing well. That's great. But now you need to think about you. So that extra $50 that you were giving your son or your daughter, take that, put it away.
Okay.
Little things.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like thinking about where and it's not being selfish. And I think that's where the guilt that you spoke about comes in. And it's not being selfish, because you have to think about, are we all guaranteed tomorrow? We're not.
Right.
But if I'm guaranteed tomorrow, I want to make sure that I don't have to live on my kid's sofa because I can't afford to take care of myself.
Right.
I don't think that's fair to me or my children.
And that is very real.
Yes.
And at every aspect of life because I think
Absolutely.
about when I first bought my home. I was the first in the family to buy a home. And I don't think it was necessarily guilt, but I always thought, oh, God bless me to be able to do this. Whenever anyone asked me for anything, I would give it because I'm the one blessed with it, And
Okay,
well, I quickly learned before you.
Let's start there. Okay. Number one, never lend money to family because you will never get it back.
Okay.
So unless you have $500 to just burn in a fireplace,
Yes.
don't lend it because you're not getting it back.
Right.
And lending money, friends, family, it just creates argument.
Yeah. It's uncomfortable, for sure.
It is.
For
It's
sure.
definitely
Yeah.
uncomfortable.
So-
and you do want to protect people and you want to be able to help them, but how can I support you without supporting you monetarily?
Yeah. Because now, as I've grown and matured, like no is such a beautiful word for me. Like
No is empowering.
no is very empowering because in
Mm-hmm.
giving you money, and I'm constantly finding myself doing that,
Right.
what am I really helping you learn?
Nothing. Absolutely.
Nothing because
Absolutely.
you're comfortable coming to me for money.
Right. And that's why I said,
Yeah.
Do we feel guilt? I think in general as women, we're
As the nurturer.
we're caretakers, we're nurturers. We want to be able to help everybody and anybody all the time.
Yeah.
But it's not being selfish. It's having self-interest. Very different.
I said that.
I'm
Self-interest.
going back to my economics terms here.
Yes. Self-interest. And
Yes.
and at 50 plus, or as you age, you learn that
Right.
you have to be able to take care of yourself at minimum.
It's the same when someone owns a business.
Mhm.
You might own a restaurant and that's great, but just because your friend comes in doesn't mean they get to eat for free. You might want to give them a discount,
Right.
but in the self-interest of yourself, of supporting yourself and your family, you deserve to be able to make money. So not everybody should be getting everything for free. I
was gonna
can't
say
tell
the
you.
flip side of that is your
Yes.
friend. You have friends that come in
Yes.
and expect
And
to
expect.
eat for free.
Exactly.
Instead
Right.
of wanting to pay you. I mean, that's in any business, unfortunately.
Right. And it shouldn't have to be that way. And that's where we need to step up and say no and be comfortable saying no.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that self-guilt comes from. And I think that's the important part is that we just have to remind ourselves that I'm conscious of what I'm doing. I'm doing what I'm doing for me.
Yes.
And in the end, if I'm taking care of me, then I can take care of everybody else. But it's that self-interest and comfortability factor where we can say, no, not right now.
Right.
And I'm not sure if you're familiar with Dr. Eric Thomas. Oh my gosh, motivational speaker. Love him to death. But he does a whole skit on you owe you. And it's probably the best thing I've ever heard in my life. And I got it from my son. They use it for ball players, for motivational speaking, and literally you owe you. And if you don't say no, and if you're not comfortable with that, and if you're not into self-interest, you need to be able to tell your friends, no, I can't go out right now. No, I'm not going to be drinking today. No, I can't do that. No, I can't be eating that. No, I'm on a regimen. And have that perseverance to take care of yourself. You owe you.
You owe you. That's a great way to look at it.
Yeah,
And I'm
Dr. Eric Thomas. He's one of my absolute favorites.
Check that out for sure. So this conversation on money, I wanted to really do this again because I have friends that have suffered loss just like I have been divorced, have find themselves in situations where they didn't know how to recover from that. But if they can have some tools, women out there listening can have some tools up front that it can get them set on the right path. And it's just basic stuff like, just some of the highlights, like you said, making sure that you get some sort of credit established in your name.
Something, yes.
Making sure you know where the money is going if you're not in control of it.
Correct.
And that brings up another point. Even having utilities in your name.
Correct. Yes.
Because you also have to establish residency somewhere. If your name is not on the mortgage or the deed of your home. So that brings up a whole nother thing. So just taking the time to really just see where you're at
Mhm.
and start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Just start somewhere. Can it be exhausting? It can be, but it can also be what I consider freeing.
Yes.
And that's what money is.
Mhm.
Money allows you freedom.
Mm-hmm.
It can't buy anything. It's not doing anything for you. But as I used to teach in economics, money is not a resource.
Mm-hmm.
Land, labor, capital, entrepreneurialism, those are resources. Money in and of itself is not a resource.
Mm-hmm.
It allows you to purchase resources, which allows you to free up your time.
Mm.
So money is freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom to say, okay, I can go on that trip next month and it's not going to break the bank.
Mm.
Oh, by the way, yeah, we do have that. We can get that this week. Okay, no, maybe I don't want that this week, but you know what? We can put it in the budget and we can get it 2 months from now.
Mm-hmm. And making the I use the word sacrifice, but it's
Mhm.
uncomfortable when you make a shift like that. I know for me, when
Mhm.
I finally said, okay, I've got to get serious about where I stand financially, it might have been like a 90-day angst period of
Detox?
yes,
90-day money spending detox.
It was
That's
like,
a really long time for some people.
yeah,
I would
it was
say,
long for me.
yeah,
It was long for me, but
yeah,
necessary.
90 days can be long. I would say, to your point, the first thing would be to see where your money's going.
Yes.
Especially in today's digital age, you take your phone, tap, pay, tap, pay,
Mm-hmm.
tap, pay. You have
Mhm.
no idea what's flying out of your account. All you know is every time you hit that tap button, they say yes. Woohoo! They're saying yes. This is great, right?
Yeah.
But just be aware, like, what are you spending? And once you start looking at what you're spending, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I spent $40 on coffee in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to spend $6, $7, buy one every once in a while. That's great. $40 on coffee every 2 weeks. That's nuts.
Right.
I mean, for me anyway. But I mean, for some people, that's
Mhm.
fine. But just look to see where your money's going.
Mhm.
And not only where your money's going, but you spent all that money. Did you enjoy it?
Mm.
Did you actually see any benefit to you?
Mm. Yeah.
Because a lot of times, we spoke about shoes on the way here, and shoes are always great for women because shoes always fit, which is great.
Yes.
But think about what you have in your closet, and typically people will wear 20% of their clothes that they own 80% of the time.
So that is so true.
Think about that.
Now that you said that, that is so
Yes.
true. And I have a closet full
Mm-hmm.
and a closet full of shoes. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
that's
So
true.
if you think about all the stuff that you have, you wear 20% of your items 80% of the time.
Hmm.
So why do you need 80% of those items? And I talk about it on my podcast, and I've said it before. Go through your stuff. Do a
Yes.
spring cleaning.
And
Do
not
that
just
twice
that,
a year.
even doing the spring cleaning,
Absolutely.
just ways to make extra money. Sell those things. Find a
Absolutely.
consignment shop, resell.
Consignment shop,
Yeah.
resale,
Mm-hmm.
sell, donate, toss, go through the buckets.
Yes.
For our older listeners, our over 50 listeners, George Carlin,
Uh-huh.
your shit is somebody else's stuff. That's what he used to say, and he was right. So yeah, go through your stuff.
Yeah.
Make a couple of bucks, take that money, throw it into a savings account. You didn't have it before.
Right.
You didn't have it before, so
Right.
any little thing helps.
But starting somewhere,
Start
knowing where
somewhere.
your money
Absolutely.
is going.
Yeah.
And what's another one thing that you can add to that we haven't talked about?
Another one thing, oh my gosh.
We covered some
Honestly,
good stuff.
I would say believe in yourself.
Okay.
I give yourself grace to learn and to know and to start acknowledging. Give yourself grace, but believe in yourself. Don't believe in the bullshit of girl math. Girl math doesn't exist.
Mhm.
Women are not stupid with money.
Yes.
Women, if you look at trends of evaluating women advisors versus men's advisors, women advisors score higher.
Mhm.
Women advisors gain more traction. Women advisors get more money for their clients than male advisors. So I think the biggest thing, and my biggest thing is I was never told that I couldn't do it.
Mm.
I grew up with 3 brothers,
Okay.
and I was never told, oh, you can't do that. Never in my life. So when someone says, Catherine, you can't do that, I'm like, yeah, okay. Let me just show you how that's going to work.
And I think that's why we vibe. I have 2
Mhm.
brothers and
Mhm.
the same thing. And it
Yeah.
used to drive my mom nuts because I felt like I was invincible. I can do
Absolutely.
whatever. And she'd be like,
Me
oh
too.
my God, are you going by yourself?
Yep, I'm
yeah,
going.
I'm out.
Mhm. Mhm.
For
Same
sure.
thing.
Yeah.
I'm sure I gave my mom some heart attacks just like you did. But yeah, I mean, if my brothers were playing ball, I was playing ball. If they were
Yes.
roof climbing, I was roof climbing. Like
Mhm,
you
mhm.
couldn't tell me I couldn't do anything, and no one ever stopped me from doing anything.
Yes.
And I think you just need to give yourself grace and believe in yourself.
And believe you can do it. You can
And-
turn any situation around.
Absolutely,
It does take a little elbow grease.
it does.
I'm living witness.
Consistency,
Consistency for
time
sure.
and consistency.
Yes. Like I said, it took me about 90 days of angst, I'll
That's
say,
okay.
because,
Mhm.
just making the adjustment. But that 90 days paid off in 15 years of financial
Absolutely.
security so far.
And I think, and I think for a lot of people, it can feel stressful. It can feel overwhelmed. But don't just know, believe me, you are not the only one.
Yes.
I have met with plenty of women over the years,
Mhm.
30s, 40s, 50s, just starting out, just putting it together. It can be done. It's a matter of you owing you,
Mhm.
and putting yourself first, which is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing.
Not a bad
That's
thing.
for sure. Well, Catherine, I love you to death. Love
I
you to
love you
pieces.
too.
Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much
Tell
for
our
having
listeners
me.
how they can get in touch with you, follow
Mhm.
you, get the book. You're
Get the
18 now.
book.
What?
Get the book. You can visit my website, www.your18nowwhat.com. I always have the latest podcast to listen to, subscribe, and share. You can get the book there. You can also order it Amazon, Books and Noble, Barnes and Noble, other retailers. And my famous tagline: "Be invaluable for what you share, not what you know."
That's what's up. So what's
Mhm.
next for you?
What's next? Jeez, I am working towards putting together a college course.
Ooh.
So yeah, acing your first year. So we'll see how that goes.
All right. All right.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
thank you. We appreciate having you.
Mhm.
Okay, friends, if your eyes glazed over once we said retirement, here's your takeaway. It's not too late. You're not behind. You're getting focused. Credit is part of your power, even if you're not financing anything big. Starting small still counts, and asking for help isn't weakness, it's smart. Big thanks to Catherine for keeping it real and giving us tools we can actually use. And to you listening, just remember your financial story isn't over. In fact, you're writing a brand new chapter, one with clarity, confidence, and maybe even compound interest. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it with a friend, your sister, your grown kids, or hey, play it while organizing your purse full of receipts. Don't forget to leave a comment on what you got out of today's conversation and be sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay strong, stay smart, and remember, you're not just surviving, girl, you're making it through. Tracy Marchelle out.
Life keeps changing, and I keep aging.